Class is in session, bitches. Sit down. Alright, so, now that I have your attention, I need to talk about something important right now. And this was inspired by a chat I had, I think it was last night, night before, I don't know, it was high. But this chat I had with about 10 of my subscribers, you know, we hang out on a TeamSpeak. It's open to all of you guys. If you don't know, I'll leave the link to the TeamSpeak in the thing here below. You can go harass those guys. We sat up all night, and there were a couple people around my age, but for the most part, most of the people in there were between 15 and 18. So they had different experiences than we did. Now, I generally have between 10 and, 7 years on those guys. So what I experienced as a child or as a teenager was entirely different than they were. And I'm not talking like I'm ancient. You know, I wasn't there when motherfuckers landed on the moon. I'm talking like I was there when games were video games. When they weren't just regurgitated, games over and over again. How many times, how many years in a row has, like, every game been about the same damn thing? And it's because you can't innovate anymore, because everything that has been done is done. And there are only about 2 developers, in my opinion, that can even keep inspiring and changing the way we think and experience gaming. Those of which are going to be releasing games next year. I'll tell you those. You can leave a guess down below if you want. But we do have a homework assignment in this episode, too. So, what I want you guys to do right now is take a moment, go to the comment section. You can do it right now. Yep, you can stop eating those carrots. Do whatever you're doing, and just listen. Leave the comment in the section with the first game you ever played. Part 2 is list the game that you first owned, like the first thing your dad bought you or you stole from Blockbuster or whatever it was, Suncoast for them motherfuckers that are old enough. For extra credit, tell me your favorite game you have ever played. So that's a 3-part question. Let me know what you think, where you were, so I can understand kind of the age and experience that my fans are dealing with, and I want to see where you guys are, and I want to talk about old-time gaming and how it's changed. I feel that in the FPS world, there are only 2 companies, 2 developers now that can innovate and change the way we experience first-person shooters. That is Bungie, and, well, what is now Respawn Entertainment, the guys that gave us Call of Duty when it was good, before they got the boot. And, both of which have 2 games coming out this year. Destiny, which is getting nods for Game of the Year. And then you have, of course, Titanfall, who is also getting nods for Game of the Year. Both of which should be changing the way we experience FPS enough that it's not the same thing every year. And I think they're the only 2 companies that can really change things enough. And the fact that they're all branching into 2 entirely different games with new, unique new aspects and stuff is just a sign to what they're capable of. I remember I was a younger kid and I got a Guinness book. Yeah, motherfucker, I went to the book fairs and stuff. And they had the shiny holographic type books, the big green and golden and red covers, Guinness Book of World Records 2003 and stuff. And I took that home, and I remember the first time I opened that thing up, and I skipped immediately to the world records for biggest breasts, and those were huge, by the way. Technically, you had to flip pages to see both of them. There was some big records in there, if you know what I'm saying. But I went to the entertainment one because entertainment was getting a little bit more popular. It wasn't just about acting anymore. There were a couple pages dedicated to video gaming. I cracked it open and I saw the Spartan suit. For the first time, I experienced, like the importance of what Halo is, and it talked about how it had like 3 world records, about how it had the most stunning graphics of any game to date, where they could, back then the suit enough was impressive, and the fact that it had cracks and cuts and guns and paint chips and everything like that was just mind-blowing. And Halo really did set the bar for a lot of games back then. I think the first game I ever played was Mario, and that was, and I say first game I ever played because most people had the same experience, but I played Mario because I wasn't supposed to. It was my dad's Nintendo, and I wasn't allowed to touch that shit. But guess what? He went to sleep sometimes, motherfuckers, and usually drunk. And you know what that means. Mario! And I played a little bit of Mario. It wasn't until I was older that my dad had a PlayStation, and this is the only thing that I ever remember my father got me, was Twisted Metal 2. I remember playing running around as Axel. Something about big black dudes and giant rims and wheels carried on for the next 20 years, but Axel was my motherfucker, dude. He just would run everything over. Axel! And just shockwave and everything. I loved the dude. I don't know what it was. Just made me laugh because it was a dude and two wheels in it, and it was just badass, you know? It wasn't those creepy little sweet tooth ice cream machine. So that was about part 2 of mine. Part 3, the best game that I've ever played, FPS, was Halo 2. And to this day, I will stick to that. And that's a really close one, because the first real multiplayer experience I had for FPS was the original Unreal. I believe that came out in '99, and that was a PC game. Most of us probably did not play PC games like that. This was back when, you know, everything was changing, because Unreal and Quake really set the bar for future shooters. It opened the door for things like Halo and whatever else was out there, futuristic. And it was incredible back when you played Doom and Resident Evil. If kids were to pick up Doom right now, the original Doom, and play this, they'd probably put it away. They're like, what's this pixelated Lego shit? You know what I mean? They couldn't appreciate what gaming used to be back then. I used to be terrified of Nemesis from Resident Evil. I used to have nightmares of the boss in Doom. I am not joking. I am a mature enough adult to admit that I pissed myself at sleep thinking about video games. That doesn't happen anymore. Do you ever get afraid? I mean, there's some great stuff nowadays. You know, Voss from that. You know, you can have some good bad guys in games, but you just respect them now. You don't get terrified of them. Same thing with movies. Back then, you know, if we're like, oh my god, I used to have nightmares about, you know, Chucky. Nobody cares. They're like, dude, it's a ginger doll. Who gets scared of that anymore? These kids are so exposed to technology and stuff like that. There's no real way to make people genuinely fear things anymore. And the closest thing we have now are jump scare games, which is the closest thing kids have to what we used to experience back in the day. And that's when gaming was fun, when things were changing. I mean, when you could play Perfect Dark or GoldenEye or something for days on end, when you used to have to switch the fucking television to channel 3, that's when you used to game. And I feel bad because I wish kids had that experience back then. The first time you kill people in Halo and you'd hear them bitch and talk, and when shit talking was becoming a thing on console. Halo 2 super jumps, lockout, Ascension, my god, dude. And then you had co-op, campaign. It was arguably the best gaming experience I've ever had in my life. And I wish games are more like that now. You know, you didn't have many games like Halo back then. It was just Halo, and you didn't have anything like Mario Kart. It was just Mario Kart. There weren't so many copies and duplicates, and they didn't, I guess, keep making the same thing every year. It's like they ran out of ideas, and now every Call of Duty is the same thing every year. Every Battlefield is getting into the same thing every year. They're adding in new game types and new guns, but that's the same thing. The game handles the same. Every Battlefield's got tanks, jets, and everything like that. It's the same game. They're adding more destruction as technology goes on, and you could do more things. All they add in is destruction. Call of Duty, they bring in dogs and fish. Are we seriously? Are we opening a pet store? So, you know, how far do you stretch it? Before, you went from PC, you went to console, you had 8-bit, you had cheap stuff. We jumped up and we made games. Crash Bandicoot, Doom, Resident Evil. The next genre jumped up and we made games like Halo. It's now time to jump up and make new things. Where are we at? You know what I mean? The day of the gaming world being, you know, innovating and changing is really hard to do now because everything's been done. PC is ahead now. It's a common thing for people to game and play on, and that's where you're going to have some of the best stuff. So now we're into things like MOBAs and stuff. There's not too much attention around FPS anymore because anything you could think of has pretty much been done. So that's what my whole point on this video is I wish some of you guys that did not experience those back in the days, you know, I had people tell me, oh yeah man, I used to love Halo 3. I'm like, you didn't play Halo 2? Nope. I'm like, poor child. I'm sorry you didn't have proper parents that loved you and hugged you and bought you systems and shit. And that's just how I feel. So, at the end of this video, I want to thank you guys. I want you to remember that you have a homework assignment. Number 1, what was your first game? Or, no, what was the first game you played? Number 2, what was the first game you owned? And number 3, what was your favorite FPS you've ever played? Leave that down in the, comment section below. Let me know. I'm sorry this was a little bit longer, But it's just something I want to share with you guys. We sat up for like an hour talking about our gaming experiences as a group of friends, and my God, I was amazed to see that some of these people did not experience gaming when it was actually changing, when things were advancing, and I felt bad for them. I felt bad, I really do. The same thing with, entertainment nowadays and movies and stuff like that. You guys are so spoiled. You guys, the originals are still the greatest. Ed, Edd, and Eddy and stuff like that. Who the fuck cares about Gumball now? But that's just where I stand on that. Hopefully you guys have a great, wonderful day. I am probably confident you guys stayed this far into the commentary because a lot of us can relate to this. And for you guys, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all the support. Click that like button as it does help out a lot. We've been doing great, hitting over 1,000 likes on each video, and for that I want to fist you. So stay cool, and I think I'll probably get another video up later tonight. And after all the talk, I feel like playing Halo. I may upload a Halo later tonight. So stay frosty, guys. Stay moist.